Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Equestria Daily Fandom Podcast. In this episode of the podcast, in celebration of the main attraction, we're going to focus our talks on Applejack, the main six character. I'd like to introduce our guests. First off, we have the busy Equestria Daily bee himself, Calpain.
Hello, everybody.
And finally, we have our friendly neighborhood dragon, Couch Crusader.
I'm more than that, but hey.
So I'm ABagOVicodin, and I will be moderating. So we'll just start off with a simple question. How are you guys?
Tired.
Calpain stole my answer.
Yeah, the both of you are just really working on both real life and EQD. Like Calpain, all that stuff you post is just bonkers. You're, like I said, the busy bee.
Yeah, real life is starting to eat into that. I've been making some considerations about some changes that I might have to make on EQD due to real life things popping up.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Hooray!
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're all a team here at EQD, so I'm pretty sure someone else would be able to help out with that and everything. So the first thing that we're going to discuss is today's episode, which, like I said, is the main attraction, our Lena Hall song episode that was spoiled a while ago, but a lot of people were like, no, don't spoil it, and then it came out, and the song is pretty awesome. So we'll start with Calpain. What's your overall opinion of the episode, summed up in a few sentences?
I'd have to say it had some of the best music, if not the best music of the season, thanks to Daniel Ingram and the gang that make the music for the show, as well as Lena Hall. So there was that, and overall, I thought it was one of the more top-tier episodes.
What do you think, Couch?
For me, it got a little bit hard to kind of separate the episode from all the hype that went up into it. I mean, if you're following Twitter, then everyone was talking about this episode in the week leading up to it. Mm-hmm. But I think that it really did pay off. It demonstrated this interesting side, or this interesting glimpse into like Applejack's past that we wouldn't have really have expected. And going along with Calpain, I also want to throw it out there to EQD Rogers for coming up with the lyrics for all those songs Rah Rah had to sing.
Oh my goodness. These songs were so good. Yeah, this episode was just a blast. I mean, those 20 minutes really, they really blew by just because there was entertainment always in your eyes the entire time, I felt, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was a very musical episode.
Well, I mean, I still remember, way back when Lena Hall had teased that she would release a video of her in the recording booth for this episode if she got, 1,000 retweets on Twitter. And so, she got that. She posted it, and, I still remember the sound of those opening bars to this day, even before the episode came on. Jeez, how long ago was that? Here, let me look that up. Keep talking.
It was months.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I remember Seth doing a Lena Hall post from the airport in Dallas from last year's Nightmare Night, so it's been, almost a year.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, I just remember us all being there in the airport, and he was just typing away something on his phone about Lena Hall. I don't think it was what Couch is referring to, but the Lena Hall stuff was, starting to pop up around the same time as Nightmare Nights was last year. It's nuts how long it took to finally get to this point.
I absolutely remember too, and yeah, this is something that happened at the beginning of December last year, so almost an entire year since we first got wind that Lena Hall was singing in My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic.
Yeah, it kind of gives us the Pinkie Pride vibe, because, we had Weird Al, who was, I mean, he didn't give us a year, I don't think, but we had a lot of hype leading up to, Pinkie Pride, and then the main attraction was kind of this sort of, conveniently, they were both written by EQD Rogers, but we had that, that hype, that just big, huge ball of hype that just exploded once this episode premiered, and I really feel that, the hype was definitely deserved.
Yeah, I thought it was very well made. Very, very well made. I don't know if there was as much hype as the Pinkie Pride episode, because, I mean, personally for me, I didn't know who Lena Hall was until, I think she won her Tony Award, I think it was.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar either.
Yeah, and then her being on ponies and whatnot, then I started digging more into who she was and was a bit more excited about that, considering she has, quite a bit of experience behind her and whatnot. But like everyone knows who Weird Al is and stuff like that, so I think there was a considerably more hype for that. But yeah, this was a hyped episode.
Yeah, so as we know, the main attraction was an Applejack episode. We haven't had since Hearthbreakers, I believe, was the last kind of. I'd say that was an Applejack episode, and we wanted to basically discuss Applejack in general, like how she's been conveyed, how she's been written. So the first question that I have for Calpain is, what do you think is like Applejack's confirmed character and canon? Like, who is she?
For me, Applejack tends to be primarily the straight mare. She is the one out of the group that is probably the most stable, probably the most dependable, will do anything that she can for her friends, and when everything just breaks down around her, she's there to help kind of, put things back together. She's kind of her place in canon is to just sort of be like a stable pillar for the others to maybe bounce off of in an adventure or something like that. She gives a traditionalist kind of view of things as well, in pony lore and stuff like that. So she's very much, just kind of a straight shooter.
What do you think, Couch?
I think that if you harken back to the days of like season 1 and season 2, which incidentally, like Ashley Ball had given her, like a slightly higher pitched voice until she realized that it sounded like too much like Rainbow Dash. We saw Applejack a lot as being stubborn, as wanting to take care of a lot of things herself, as well as being like super competitive, just to kind of act as a foil to Rainbow Dash. And over the seasons, we've kind of seen her mellow out, settle into kind of a bedrock role where she's just like kind of there for the other characters to build off of. And I don't remember quite when it happened, but along the way she picked up like this sixth sense of snark that just made her the most wonderful thing, not only to listen to, but to also watch on screen. May I present to you the fascinated eyebrow she gives Discord in Three's Company last season.
Yeah.
And in multiple episodes since then.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, she's got this attitude and snark with her that's definitely, it feels like it's in the family, because, Big Mac has had his moments with the sarcasm, and Apple Bloom herself as well is like she has like a famous seriously line during One Bad Apple. Like, it seems to be in the family.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it certainly seems like Applejack is kind of this, straight mare, headstrong kind of person. But she also has the capability to have these sort of like chinks in her armor. Like whenever something comes up that responds to family, like with Hearthbreakers, I thought Hearthbreakers was an excellent episode that like Applejack needed, because that was just sort of we've always been wanting to see more about the family aspect of who it is to her, and I feel like that was just really written well. What did you guys think about the Hearthbreakers episode?
I really personally enjoyed it. I saw it as a way to challenge the part of AJ that was like I mentioned before, the traditionalist part of her, how she can be stuck in her ways, and it was a good way of, like how Couch mentioned earlier about her stubbornness, really being there in the first season, and how she's mellowed out over time. It was a way to directly, kind of, combat that stubbornness that she's had since the beginning. And even though she has mellowed out, she never really had too many episodes showing that her stubbornness can really affect things. So Hearthbreakers was really nice to show that she can break out of her mold and break out of tradition just for the sake of friendship and making people happy and stuff like that. I really enjoy that episode.
How about yourself, Couch?
Hearthbreakers was one of many episodes in season 5 that I would just kind of call a tempo episode. It was very entertaining to watch while it was on. It certainly like carried its own weight, but like it was just kind of something that I was kind of happy to like leave there like afterwards. Like I I mean, like for what it's worth, I did enjoy the episode. It was nice getting, but I think that the draw for me more was just kind of getting to explore Pinky's family as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Oh,
we got Maud Pie like last season, and
Yes.
even then, like she wasn't in the flashback Pinky had in Cutie Mark Chronicles all the way back in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more along the lines of that for me. One of the episodes that's actually kind of coming into mind, though, that kind of goes along Cal Payne's, going along with what Cal Payne said. Last season, we had Pinky Apple Pie, where Applejack pretty much instigates this whole family vacation across the wilderness of Equestria, just to confirm that Pinkie Pie is possibly related to the Apple clan. Like, it's her that leads the expedition, and at one point she tries to commandeer the whole thing after Big Mac, Apple Bloom, and Granny Smith all have their own ways of trying to get there and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely broke her down a little bit there too. So
Oh yeah, I agree, and it kind of also shows the stubbornness of all of them in the family and how well they are related to one another, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
Because they all have their own way of wanting to do things, and they're all stubborn in their own way.
Yeah, it's kind of indicative, their types of personalities that not only mesh with them as a family, like the types of personalities that would just be within an apple, but also how all of them as a family have their own kind of different, like, personality and lives. Like, that seems kind of obvious, but I feel like there's that balancing act between wanting to have all members of a family act a certain way and also have them act the same. And I feel that the Apple family is a really good comparison or example of how all of them are individualistic, but when they're together as a family, they're just stronger in general.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, you can definitely describe each one of their characters and kind of, give a description of them. But when they're together, you can also give a description of them as a family unit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would say it's a very hard thing to balance, and I think they've done pretty good over the seasons of, making them their own characters and keeping them together as a family.
At the same time, though, I've also found that the show can sometimes kind of overplay the whole importance of what family does in Applejack's life. I mean, like we've certainly had our episodes where we look at her and she was definitely going ham salad on the whole family thing. Mm-hmm. So,
oh yeah, there's that one where she just will not leave Apple Bloom alone.
Yeah,
right?
Some pony to watch over me. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Season.
We mentioned that in the first podcast, I believe, where it was just it was a shame, really. Just that kind of, there was this yeah, felt really odd just with both Applejack's character and Apple Bloom's as well. Like, she goes out crusading all this much, and then she just keeps messing up. She keeps being a klutz just because we had those 22 minutes, like, centered on them. So yeah, it's obviously the family dynamic is not written perfectly, but we can see the kind of crowning jewels, the diamond beneath the rough, that sort of a lot of people either downplay.
All right, get out of here with that Rare Jack garbage. I'm just kidding. I love Rare Jack.
I know. I was gonna say, are you about to?
No, I'm just doing it for the gag. But I mean,
deny
start some wars.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. Well, having doomed us all, I think that coming back to the main attraction, this was a great episode for Applejack because we finally get to explore something about her that isn't apples or family. That's something Seth, I know, has been like railing about since season freaking 2 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All that.
Yeah, that's why he's not on this podcast.
Oh. Well, no, he's not on this podcast because he's gonna forget who Rara is and think that Coco Pamel or something made a cameo here.
Yeah,
I know.
He's too busy actually watching the Razzle Dazzle song, probably repeating it just over and over.
Yeah, knowing him, probably.
But yeah, the interesting thing about this episode is that I feel like it had the capability to be echoed within all of the other characters, but with Applejack, not only did we have kind of the focus on the amazing songs and like Lena Hall's performance and all of that, but we had, what would Applejack do in this type of scenario? And even if it's didn't have much attention put on it because it kind of was just solved, and then we got the amazing concert, it was still very interesting to see her, like, nervous and worried and concerned about just someone that they haven't seen in a while, because she's usually around everyone that she knows.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It's basically whenever you see AJ, it's AJ and the main six, and you don't really see a lot of different, other ponies interact with her or get to know her or anything. I mean, Fluttershy's had Tree Hugger, I guess, and she has Discord, and Rarity now has Coco Pomal and Sassy Saddles, and Twilight has Moon Dancer, right? Moon Dancer and a bunch of other people and a bunch of other friends.
And Minuet.
Oh, yeah.
Twinkle Shine Lemon Hearts, but mostly Minuet, because come on.
Yeah.
Shirazani was amazing in that episode.
She was like the best, she seemed to like carry that episode in her own way. Like not only the amazing just everything that was within Amending Fences, but Minuet's just energy was just so much fun to watch.
And the fact that she basically took a fall like from a 3-story building like into the ground face first and was okay.
Yeah,
that was pretty good too.
That's Pinkie Pie levels of just not caring.
Yeah, but yeah, back on the topic. Yeah, it seems like all the other ponies have.
Oh goodness, we had a topic here.
Yeah, no, EQD, we don't have topics.
We just got Nain.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all seem to have other people really to were other ponies to be friends with and everything. And they've explored that either in the past, through flashbacks, or you see them in the show. But AJ, it's been mainly up until this point, really family, always family oriented. So finding out that Rara is really AJ's old friend and expanded on some of the other ponies that AJ knows was actually kind of nice. It was nice. It gave AJ a little bit more depth.
Yeah, definitely. So what are your guys' favorite Applejack episode? We'll start with Couch.
Oh, why are you putting me on the spot?
Because I have a hard time remembering the names of the other episodes.
Okay,
I can look them up.
We're not joking about this right now. This is like the absolute worst time to joke about this. You know what I'm talking about. We're not saying it. Oh, flip. Yeah, I kind of feel like I have to. Man, I just may have to go to the internet on this one.
Just tell me. I'm on the episodes right now, so tell me what it's about.
Well, I mean, like we've had like what at this point, crunching the numbers here, like 115 episodes to choose from, or something like that. 114. Yeah, it's kind of hard to remember like what all AJ has done to them.
So we got Hearthbreakers. We have
Simple Ways.
Simple Ways. Yes, that this season.
Yeah, that was season 4.
That was season 4.
Yeah, that was fun enough.
Yeah, so we got Simple Ways, we have Leap of Faith, we have...
The entire internet is laughing at me because I can't remember a single damn Applejack.
You call yourself an Applejack fan.
Yeah, Jesus. Well, maybe she doesn't need defending anymore, all right? Maybe she's coming to her own as a proper little Southern Belle thing. All right.
I feel that this is probably a good... We'll come back to this question later, but I feel that this is a really good way to divert into this sort of area that a lot of people don't really understand, is like there seems to be this desire for people to be like, oh, we need Applejack episodes, and I agree in a way, but when we have this sort of character who's this like straight mare and like very capable of bouncing off the other characters, like she's the one who keeps them kind of from becoming insane, does it feel like her moments in other episodes kind of highlight themselves more as a character than their own episodes in a way?
Well, actually, yeah, I would say so in a bit. I would think that she is actually pretty fun when she's paired up with another character to play off of. I'd absolutely love it when AJ's paired up with Rarity. They always seem to bounce off each other really good. So those episodes of those two together are usually really good. Mm-hmm. Oh geez, what else?
Simple
just that when
Ways
she's
was a boatload of fun.
Simple Ways
Sim-
was like 22 minutes of like Rarity chasing Applejack.
yeah. I actually actually back to our AJ episode. That's probably my favorite one, just because of the insanity of that both of them went through, and and AJ just keeping her composure the entire time, and just Rarity just loses it,
Yeah, because Applejack just kind of she's able to go immediately into like the Apple Jewel persona. Like she's just all of a sudden being completely Rarity, and that's just really the beauty of that episode. And then
And it even works for Applejack too. So Rarity trying to out Applejack just makes her go insane. Well, Applejack just trying to be Rarity, she just kind of goes with it and pulls it off pretty decently.
Oh man, there have certainly been many fics out there just kind of exploring like Applejack's, how should I say this, like involvement with high society or whatever. I mean, like we all know that as a Philly, she went to Manhattan, thinking that she wasn't going to be spending her life on a muddy old apple farm, and look at all the stories that came out of that. And all that.
Yeah.
But so it's just kind of fun to like watch her, engage that, for lack of a better word or something like that. Like you got that in the main attraction. You certainly got that in like main Manhattan, all that. Although people were certainly disappointed that she didn't go see the oranges, but like that wouldn't have served the story. Who cares?
yeah, there wasn't time for it.
So I mean, like, she, and it also helps that if you went to TrotCon, I think it was like last year, or Everfree Northwest like this year, you had Larson giving a panel on how he writes episodes, and apparently one of the early script drafts he'd had for Cutie Mark Chronicles was having Applejack out there watching her big brother trying to teach her how to bug an apple tree while she sat under a parasol because she was Rarity at the time.
Yeah,
That
that's
was a
just
great panel.
that would have been amazing to see. Like there's so many all of the writers really try and have as much like continuity with the show as they can, and it really is kind of a bummer when those types of stuff just get like cut for time.
I think what was also kind of a bummer is that like we got Thanks for the Memories like earlier in the season. Applejack only cries on the inside, and I don't know, ever since her eyes have been gushers. It's without exception. She
I
can't hold
thought
it in.
that was her best moment
Yeah.
in this season.
Yeah, didn't she tear up today too?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I mean like for that we can going back to the episode like going back to the topic rather of my favorite Applejack episode. It's probably Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000 because that was like the one episode where no one learned anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's probably my favorite as well if we were to focus on just purely Applejack episodes, just because it's very it feels like not only is the episode fun, but it feels just like a Larson episode. Like just so many conventions where he's been at where he's just like, I can't believe I got away with that moral having her not learn anything. And it's purely beautiful. Just that it's really fun. We have, an Ed and Eddie voice actor that really just flim and flam are a blast. But here, Couch, do you believe that Applejack is best pony?
Well, she only has 4 legs, and if you've been keeping up with what I've been doing, that's kind of been falling out of favor with me lately. I won't elaborate on that further, but Applejack has always been one of my favorite ponies, like ever since the show began.
And why would that be?
Well, I'm gainfully employed now, but that wasn't always the case, and Applejack was always someone that I kind of looked up to and aspired to be, just like out there, working hard, being honest with others, and doing her best to be honest with herself. And being there, like being as dependable as possible to as many ponies as possible, or in my case, people, I guess. I don't know. I saw a lot of myself in her, and I saw a lot of what I could be in her, and I feel like I'm catching up to where she is. It's a pretty good feeling.
It's very inspiring when you feel like you're able to,
Catch up with a cartoon character. Yes, I know.
Well, not only that, but like when you really think about it, you're trying to catch up to someone who is inherently very, hardworking and courageous, and there's as we saw in Magical Mystery Cure, there are just other characters that can't do that. I mean, Pinky wasn't able to do all those chores just because it wasn't her. Like, not only wasn't her, but like she's not that kind of, like, I'm not going to say she's not hardworking, but it's just not her cup of tea. And like hardworking, being hardworking is Applejack's cup of tea, and that's very admirable. So, Calpain, do you believe Applejack is best pony, or at least one of your favorites?
Yeah, she's definitely one of my top tier. She's easily tied up there with Twilight Sparkle for me. For both of them, I guess similar reasons. AJ, I've always been a person raised in the countryside, so I know how all that kind of stuff is. You got to go out and chop wood or move things around and see animals all the time, and you got to work pretty hard. And just being in college life and beyond that, you have to work hard. You have to work hard at life in general, and I think a lot of us can relate to that, and I certainly relate to that. And it kind of messes in with Twilight, too, because she's, kind of the academic sort of Applejack. She's doing all this research and reports to a mentor and gets nervous about deadlines and stuff like that. So I admire them both for their hardworking nature and stuff like that. And I relate to Applejack because of that hardworkingness or the countryside stuff that she has in her, and also because she's honest to people and just tries her best to be a good person.
All right, so I'm going to start taking a look at the questions that we got asked in our thread. Let's take a look here. So, Belle Bryce asks, what are your thoughts on possibly exploring more of Applejack's past? We'll start with Calpain.
I would actually be very curious about that. If anything, I would like to at least know what, for instance, AJ's parents even looked like. It's something that I've just, seen a ton in, the fandom lore and stuff like that, what everyone thinks that her parents look like and stuff like that. And even if they're not around anymore, I would love to see a flashback or something like that that, includes them, even if they don't want to touch on the grimmer things that, we supposedly believe, have happened to her parents. Mm-hmm. So anything like that, I would hope that in season 6 or beyond, we find some sort of flashback where she has a fond memory of her parents or something like that. Or maybe the show will finally, since it is still pretty educational, finally does touch on the topic of a family member passing away or something like that. Or Apple Bloom asking what her parents were like, because I assume she was probably really, really young. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like to see more of it because she has a pretty mysterious past in comparison to some of the others out there. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking forward to.
What you think, Couch?
That is a very dangerous question to ask someone who is interested in writing stories.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, a lot of the ideas that people want for the show is every idea can be good if it's written well. That's kind of the thing, right? So but not only that, some ideas are just obviously harder to write than others. So having to deal with, even if it's just a flashback, that kind of stuff seems to be very, very testy, especially for the type of demographic that the show was written for. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that all three of us want them to touch upon the past, even if it's just, like Calpain said, some sort of remembrance of just at least what they looked like or what they were like. I'd be perfectly fine if they were never shown, but they were kind of more of a fonder memory, more of the example or reason that the Apples are so hardworking and so together as a family. It's kind of that, the less you know, it's more of a, the more of a mystery kind of, the better it can be, because once you start explaining, everything, it sort of gets, it can get spread too thin.
Oh yeah, I can agree with you with that. Sometimes a little bit of mystery can allow you to, really just kind of run with an idea and run with all sorts of plausible ideas, and, people can settle into which ones that they think they like the most. Once they settle on a certain thing that is canon, it kind of, can wreck a bunch of that.
I mean, I think that the reason the show, well, at least part of the reason the show exploded back in 2011 and 2012 was that we had this world, marketed toward little girls, but here it is with all sorts of these high fantasy elements, and there's so much left unexplained for what we knew about Equestria. Like, the sun and the moon don't move by themselves. They're actually moved by the rulers of the land. Like, what are the other rules that make this place work in the first place? And just leaving room for people to make their own original characters, participating in stories in Equestria, that kind of thing has always been like one of the most fundamental draws of the show to me. So when it comes to kind of like collapsing Applejack's past into like a certain canon or something like that, I'd welcome it, but it also certainly closes its share of doors too. I also had another point going in on this, but I completely forgot what it was. Keep talking, guys.
Yeah, the thing is that a lot of different fiction works have the point where they just stop explaining, because you're going to write forever basically if you want to explain everything, even if it's just like Harry Potter comes to mind. There's a lot of stuff that just was never put into the books because it wasn't relevant, or it wasn't the story that they were trying to tell, or just like J.K. Rowling wanted the fans to have a little bit more fun with that sort of all of those theories and everything. So I definitely agree that, like I previously said, that there should be some sort of, like, if there isn't any, if it's like the parents are never brought up again, I'm fine with that. But at the same time, if they are brought up, I feel it needs to be very careful. Like, I'd be more comfortable if they were just more of, like I said, the thought or the construct of them. They're never actually shown, but like, Apple Bloom asks Applejack what their parents were like, and Applejack's like, oh, they were very hardworking, they loved all of us, and just like that sort of thing. Like maybe just a minute or two scene, but like just chock full of feels.
Yeah, they could pull something off definitely like that.
Or I think one day Applejack is just going to take Apple Bloom out into the Wild West or something like that, and there are her parents like still alive and well, just out there fighting coyote wrestlers and that kind of thing. I also want to see Applejack Monster Hunter.
Oh my goodness.
She did a pretty good job on the Chimera, and she looks good in boots.
Oh yeah, the boots from Some Pony to Watch Over Me.
Yeah. That was probably the best part of that episode. Just kicking butt.
This is a pretty good question. How do you think Applejack's relationship with Apple Bloom and her family will change throughout the seasons as she continues to grow and do more things with the main six and Spike?
Oh my god, I thought that I got out of the whole critical thinking thing when I graduated college.
This is horses, Couch. This is serious business.
I didn't sign up for this. You guys keep going with this podcast. I've hit my limit.
Couch is out of here, boys. We're all gone.
And I'm hosting the Skype call, so everything is going down.
Oh, no.
Too. All right. Getting that wall out of the way, the question was how Applejack's relationship with Apple Bloom and her family, main six, and Spike will continue to progress throughout the seasons. Yeah, there are so many different directions you can take with that. I think that one of the more consistent characterizations we've seen out of Applejack is that she tends to serve as a second in command when the gang's all together, and like Twilight's over there like dictating this and that as the Princess of Friendship and what have you. So if you remember back in season 2, we had the last roundup where she went missing from the National Rodeo and everyone had to track her down. What if the roles were reversed there, and Applejack is the one leading an expedition to recover one of their friends? Because, I mean, like, she already went into the fire swamps to rescue Apple Bloom and all that. We've shut the door on the family angle there. Now let's work toward the friends.
What do you think, Calpine?
Oh, relationship between Apple Bloom and AJ, right? As time goes on. Oh goodness, I don't know. Now that now that they've gotten their cutie marks and stuff like that, and it sounds like they have a more concrete, purpose that they've, figured out for themselves. I can kind of see like, AJ giving advice and stuff like that, like Apple Bloom and stuff like that on, how to go on their own adventures out on their own. Maybe she can learn to kind of let her sister go a little bit more and stuff like that. Let her become more of an adult.
I would like to see that personally.
Yeah, she's growing up, obviously, so give her more responsibilities. Let her go on her own adventures. Maybe the CMC, one of their adventures could be outside of Ponyville without supervision for once or something. Or,
that kind of did happen with the whole Trouble Hose episode, right?
But AJ was there, and Brayburn was supposed to be watching them, and fell asleep.
Maybe they're going to get their own season, as we've been teased since, like, season 1.
I honestly can't see that happening.
Yeah.
Now they're the new G5.
Oh my goodness, that would actually be interesting. Having the Cutie Mark Crusaders as like adult characters in G5.
Okay, I would see that. I would watch that. Cutie Mark Crusaders guidance counselors, yay!
10 out of 10, bringing people together. So this was kind of a second question on top of that. First was, how do you think Apple Bloom getting her Cutie Mark affected her family?
I think they're just, well, as AJ put it, she said that if their parents were there, that they'd be proud of her, and they're proud of her too. So
yeah,
I think it's just another, great moment in Apple family history. They're just excited about it, and probably a little bit relieved considering how much it's been worrying Apple Bloom for the past 5 of our years. So
yeah, however many moons that's been in Equestria.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think it will. Now that they don't have to worry about it so much, maybe they can do something else together.
Which Applejack moment can you relate to the most from A1X?
Oh, geez.
A7X? Jeez. I thought that they got together there for a second.
Well, I can say the first thing that comes to mind is, probably oh geez, what was the one? What the heck was the 4th episode of the entire show called?
Applebuck season?
Yes, that's it. See, I'm terrible at remembering all the names of this show. I am really bad at it. But when you have so much to do, not only for yourself, but you also want to help your others, and you kind of overextend yourself, that is kind of moment I can really relate to. I've had a lot of moments where I've had to just do a ton of stuff for both myself and for other people and stuff like that, and in the end it actually ends up screwing things up one way or another, and that one is really stuck with me. That, and also moments between siblings in the Apple family. I have a sister myself, and she likes Applejack. You guys, I don't know if you've met her. Have you met her, Couch? She's been
yeah. I mean, like, I remember meeting her like briefly at Nightmare Nights like last year.
Yeah. So, there's the moments between siblings and stuff like that, which isn't just exclusive to Applejack. I mean, we got Rarity and Sweetie Belle, and the cute stuff between Rainbow Dash and Scoots, even though they're not, technically sisters. But those kind of moments, the one from Applebuck season, and all the sisterly bonding moments.
I would say that I would identify more with Applejack, not in Applebuck season, because like Applejack, I will make a lot of promises to other folks to do things for them, but unlike Applejack, I wouldn't actually follow through on them. So that just automatically qualifies me as a horrible person. But
Aww.
what I do identify with instead is just like you could pull from both ends of the show's run. You've got Heartbreakers in season 5 and Look Before You Sleep in season 1. Applejack has her way of doing things, and if things aren't exactly done to the way that she expects them to be done, then she gets uncomfortable. And when she gets uncomfortable, she's the type of person who kind of goes out there and tries to fix it. So, for instance, there's that tree about to fall on the library, and Applejack's solution is to make it fall into the library. So that's something interesting for you there. And then like for Hearthbreakers, you hide your presents? What? That sounds horrible. So we're just gonna put all the presents out here. Fine. Okay, good. And I've definitely had friends yell at me before for just like kind of abruptly reaching into their space while they were like cooking on the stove or chopping things on a chopping board with sharp knives, that kind of thing, because I just wanted to show them how it was done, not exactly realizing I was looking a little bit like a jackass doing it.
Oh yeah, I can understand what you mean. Yeah, having that compulsion to show people how you believe it's done, and I can definitely see that in AJ.
Yeah.
Imagine Applejack wasn't growing apples, and instead she'd be Orange or Cherry Jack, etc. Aside from her name not being a beverage anymore, do you think her character would significantly change, or would she stay our country element of honesty regardless of fruit or vegetable?
Honestly, farm work is. If you look around the apple farm, and we've seen, the farm itself does raise more than just apples.
Mm-hmm.
So, considering that she already raises a bunch of stuff, and though the main thing they do harvest is apples, I can't really see it affecting who she is too much. The fruit's fruit, and it needs bucking off. So, she'll probably be pretty much the same, unless it's some of those really fussy fruits you gotta like hand pick, with your mouth, I guess, in their case.
I guess like we would probably see her living out in Dodge Junction, like with a beauty mark on her cheek and red hair all done up in like a hair in a beehive or something like that, and being like super welcoming to other fillies running away from the national rodeo because they didn't place first in any event. That's just my take on it.
I would like to see that hairstyle on her.
So she'd be more individualistic, you feel, Couch?
Sorry, that was kind of a long, elaborate joke toward the last roundup.
Oh, whoop, right over my head.
It's okay. I mean, like, thank God Aqua isn't here, because like he would just be speaking in references no one would get.
Yeah, that's like his follow-ups. That's just all his
which are consistently entertaining every single time.
Every single. Can we just turn into We Love or Aquaman podcast for the next 20 minutes?
I'm down.
Okay, I actually have kind of a dense question for both of you. We'll start with Couch.
Oh, why?
Why do some people call her a background pony?
Okay. Why do they call her a background pony? Having been to this fandom as long as I have, I feel like I should really know the answer to that question. And more importantly, at one point, I cared about the answer to that question, but I don't feel like it's been that big of a thing anymore, except for like certain in circles where it's just like her Applejack background pony, and they have a quiet laugh about it, and people get mad, and the life cycle of the internet continues to roll on.
Yeah, we're talking about like the actual, like.
So
there are not a lot of people that think that that's true, but let's just like go into this mindset for a little bit and like try and see, like, why would we think that she would be called that?
I'm gonna get pitchforks turned in my direction on this one, but I'm pretty sure that it had to do with the last roundup. It was supposed to be an Applejack episode, and then Derpy showed up in the teaser. So I mean, like from that point forward, like Applejack's suddenly gained this reputation, deserved or not, of having her episodes hijacked by other more entertaining ponies, while she just like kind of relegated into the background. I mean, again, like for an Applejack episode, the point of it was that she had gone missing. So,
and then everyone just talked about Derpy.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was sort of she's sort of a victim of circumstance of that episode, I feel.
Yeah, and it isn't the first time it's happened. I actually now the Couch brought that up. I'm going to actually side with him on that and say it kind of started that way because, she got upstaged in the last roundup, which was supposed to be an AJ episode, and it was the first time Derpy talked and stuff, and so everything was about Derpy. Everything after that first, 2 minutes of that episode, no one cared about except Derpy. There's been, I can't really recall exactly which other episodes it's kind of happened before, but it has kind of happened where a background character or something would really, steal the show in an AJ episode or something like that. But Yeah, I think it has something to do with that. It's just somebody stealing some pony or something stealing the thunder of AJ in an episode. And plus, I also think, just in my opinion, some of the earlier AJ episodes weren't as good until they kind of, like we talked about. She's really good when she's paired up with somebody, and is able to work as a foil for her friends or a foil for a particular friend and stuff like that. And her earlier ones were maybe more focused on her or just the Apple family or something like that, and they weren't as popular. So between getting upstaged in episodes that sounded like they'd be really cool for her, or just some more mediocre episodes that might have happened in the past, that's really, I guess, where I think it came from. Otherwise, I don't really know. All I know is that it's really died down nowadays.
Yeah, I barely hear it anymore. I remember getting flack for doing like an Applejack joke on one of my editorials, and I got a lot of it. There was a lot of flack.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah,
I do too. I remember that.
That was a boatload of fun. But yeah, it's just kind of just like in What About Discord, the joke has run its course. She's objectively a good character, and it's just sort of a joke that hasn't really died yet, like Jeff Dunham or Dane Cook, just like people like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my attempt at a joke, but that's all I got. So we're on our third podcast now, and obviously every single MLP writer goes to our podcast the moment that we put it up. So my question to you guys would be, what is an Applejack episode, or her being in a different episode, like we could pair her up with someone. Rare Jack doesn't count, because I know you guys are immediately going to go for Rare Jack.
Oh, no, actually, I'm more than open to, like, seeing other episodes where she's with other ponies. I mean, like...
Yeah, just, like, what is either an idea or just something general that you want to see either in Season 6 or beyond that has to do with Applejack? That we already haven't talked about.
So we're seriously propositioning the writers here.
Yeah, we're basically telling the writers do this, because obviously they listen to this podcast.
Okay, yeah, sure, Vic, they do. Whatever helps you sleep at night. I would like to see something between like Applejack and Fluttershy or Applejack and Twilight. I don't think that we've seen those three pair up for an episode yet. And
yeah, you're right.
If there's anything to just kind of give credence to that idea, we had Rarity Investigates earlier this season, where we just had like Rainbow Dash and Rarity like joining forces in Canterlot of all places. Like, what kind of common ground do those two ponies really have on the surface? And then you dig down a little bit deeper, and they were like, oh. And in my opinion, like that was my favorite episode of the season. But like, I think that the writers are smart enough and capable enough and adventurous enough to throw together two characters that we wouldn't normally consider to be like hanging out a whole lot and finding some crazy common ground between them.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we thought like Apples to the Core and stuff, a Pinkie Pie and AJ episode, they are pretty different, in their own ways, but they work out pretty well in the end. And Hearthbreakers actually was a really good episode, and was a Pinkie Pie and AJ kind of episode, and
absolutely
worked out pretty good. So I don't know. Yeah, I would say maybe pairing up AJ with Fluttershy, that could have some interesting dynamics. They're both very nature-oriented individuals and stuff like that. So maybe there's some kind of common ground that they can base an episode around there. Maybe they have to solve some sort of, I don't know.
Everfree Force.
Yep, Everfree.
No, crap, we've already done that, though.
Oh, yeah.
Except that was more Discord's doing, not the Everfree itself.
Yeah. Yeah, the Everfree's... Maybe there could be an exploration thing with the Everfree. Maybe Fluttershy has to do something in the Everfree, and AJ backs her up or something, because she's like, as we've said, second in command. So, send the first officer off to do something like that, while do a side quest while the commander Twilight's back in her castle plotting her plans or whatnot.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say that, like, I'm working on my own story with Fluttershy and the Everfree Force, and again, I'll just leave it at that.
Sweet.
The beloved fan fiction writer, always wanting to get your stories done before the writers write a better one than you do.
Oh no. I couldn't care less about that anymore. I mean, like that's what AUs are for, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, AU. Thank goodness for AUs.
Thank goodness for AU.
Does this mean we can finally release the hostages? We don't have to pretend they're a live studio audience anymore.
Yeah, sure. We can.
Okay. That seems like something nice we could do.
But then that means you have to go out and get new ones next week. Why don't you just, keep them tied up and feed them every day or something?
Well, yeah, but like if you keep them tied up, then you have to untie them to make them go to the restroom, unless you're cruel.
Are we cruel?
I mean,
Well, we're Equestria Daily. I wouldn't put it past us.
yeah. I mean,
We-
if we said we were cruel, who would be surprised? I think that's a better question.
Well, we do keep PK locked up in the utility closet and feed him shoes.
Who's PK?
Aw,
Oh yeah,
poor
isn't he
PK.
just a dog?
If we ever did an Equestria, if we ever did like an Equestria Girls version of all of our OCs, PK would be the dog.
Oh my god,
He'd come through the portal and he'd be Spike.
poor PK.
Yeah.
He
I
would
mean,
though.
for him, that would be a step up.
Oh,
ouch!
wow. PK is gonna see this in like a month and be like, "Hey," but we're gonna forget.
Yo, no, I really hope he does. I mean, like, I'm only giving it up because, like, I'm willing to see what he can dish back, Turn up the heat.
So actually, what I'm
Rap
gonna
battle.
do is I'm gonna integrate this week's poll into the podcast. I feel like that would be an interesting thing to do. So the poll for this week was: you're offered a chance to become a pony and go to Equestria, and I guess in Couch's case, we can make you a dragon. Do you change gender, or do you not go to Equestria, or do you stay the gender you are?
I'll stay the same, gender, everything like that. And I would go. It'd be fun.
I actually don't care.
So you'll go
Sorry.
with any, whether it's pony, dragon, any gender. It's very
Well,
very
I mean,
open-minded.
if I wind up in Equestria, then like I certainly hope I wind up there as myself in one form or another, and not some bad Sonic OC, for instance. But if I just like stay on Earth, that's perfectly fine too.
So it could always be worse, is the way you're looking at it.
Yeah.
Hey, Couch. Well, look at it this way. To be honest, if this is canon, there is already a portal to the human world to Equestria, so you can go whenever you want. And once you get there, if you just ask Twilight to change you into whatever you want.
Hey, listen, we don't talk about pedestrian on this podcast, okay?
We have to wait for Seth to get the pony portal going. I think he's investing all his money in that. He wants to find Sweet Velvet.
Well, it's mostly Cyril working on that technology, I think. Like he has it operational on the moon. Now he just needs to bring it here.
I thought
Yeah.
we blew up the moon.
Well, we got
No,
another
the moon's-
moon.
The moon's definitely there.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah,
Or is it a space station?
we blew up the second moon. That's what it was. We had two
Oh,
moons, and the
okay.
first one was just whatever. All right, so it looks like that'll sum up this week's episode of the Equestria Daily podcast. I would very much like to thank Calpain
Hey, guys. It was nice talking to you.
and Couch Crusader for joining.
Can I go now? Am I free?
No.
I'll untie you in a little bit.
Will the beating stop?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I love you guys. Bye-bye.